God, my coffee tastes like shit this morning. I need to go try again.
You using that same creamer that you hated from the other week?
I'm back. Gold, Reagan, are both y'all on the stream?
Yo, oh, okay, I see you started a live stream. Yeah, got it.
Okay. Trying to see where gold went.
The So, quick question with this system you're wanting to do of stop loss 2x ATR, profit target 4x ATR.
Hmm.
That kind of goes against one of the other things you said of capping profits and leaving yourself unable to catch the fat tails.
Absolutely. It's a good point. And the reason for this is the sheet needs to be directly aimed towards comparison. And so this is really the only way to even do that. That way, like,
Okay.
if I'm looking at,
Got you.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. You want a more base level of quantification without the randomness of possible fat tails in there.
Exactly. Because you can't really compare them, if this pattern had, five fat tails and this one had two. I mean, it's just. Whereas we're gonna also, I'm gonna have it categorized by time frame. So it's like right now, we were only submitting like the best time frame for each pattern, so on and so forth. Whereas if we upload a pattern, we're gonna provide the results for all the tested time frames. And so then let's say you want to look at, this pattern, or you want to look at all the patterns on the 3 minute time frame. If all of them have the same target and risk, it's going to give a great baseline for comparison for different patterns. And that's what I really want for the sheet. Give a really good analysis platform basically for comparing patterns before we build on them. And that's why the risk to reward is 1 to 2 and not 1 to 1, because we do like fat tails, and that's the goal. So if a strategy has like a 60% win rate on our in sample data on a 1 to 1, that's just not telling me that much. And more than likely, as soon as it hits some out of sample data, that win rate's going to fall off. Whereas if it's has a good win rate on a 1 to 2, then that might indicate that it actually has some predictive power, that price is more likely to move in our favor than it is against us. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then once we kind of take the pattern into our platform, then we can add some fat tails to it and see how it's doing there. Gold has been on the entire time. I'm kind of curious what happened to him.
Maybe.
All right, I'm here, dude. I saw the be right back to get coffee refill, so
Oh,
I did the same thing.
Okay.
Sorry, I've been here listening the whole time now.
I got you. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and restart, or we're gonna go ahead and start. Show you guys this template I built. Because the builder, a lot of people have talked about ATR stuff, and it's not that easy to do, but you can do it. And so what we're using here, well, I'll show you the actual chart first. Okay. Here you can see we have bands, and these bands are just based off of a formula of the ATR. And so at every close price, we get a new band value. And this is just the ATR multiple away from the close price. And the way we did that is we use an indicator that doesn't have a name, it's just called the formula indicator. And then we can pop a formula in there to give us, its own data series. And so all we're using is an EMA period of 1, so it's not using an EMA, it's just looking at the close price, and this is just the way you would do that. You take a moving average and put it at the period of 1. So we got the 1 period EMA plus the value of that 14 period ATR, which is default, and times that by 3, and then, or times it by 3.5, and that's giving us this ATR band above. Okay, and then we do the exact opposite, for the deviation downwards. And obviously you could do a lot more with this indicator, but that's not what we're looking at. It's simply getting those ATR values above and below after any close price. So we get that, and then we go into the builder, and then we make variables, stop price, target price. We have to make sure we're flat first, or if we're flat and we cross above 50 in the RSI, so this is just the default trigger, right? Which is RSI crosses above 50. We enter long, and at the same time, we set our stop price to the formula indicator. There's our formula, and we're using an ATR multiple of 2 for our stop loss. And same thing for target. Set our target to ATR multiple of 4. In our next set, you have to check that we're long, and then we place our orders. It has to be set up like this, or else the order would just disappear after 1 bar. So we're long, and then we choose our our stop as our stop price, and our target as our target price. So yeah, everything you've seen here, I exported as a template, so you can go over to the new channel I made.
So that template should include that indicator too, right? If you exported it.
Correct. So here's patterns template long. I'm just going to flip everything for the short side, upload a template for the short side, market patterns 2. There you go. Obviously, you can, if you make a system, you can change these multiples to whatever you want, the 2 and the 4. But for the comparison sheet amongst patterns, all of this is to stay the same. And then you would just change, well, if you were only testing triggers, then you would change your trigger, maybe change this RSI across to above 80 or whatever. But right now, this is just a trigger. It is not a pattern. So what we're going to look to do is add a pattern behind this trigger, and then go from there.
So when it looks like the way you have that coded, it'll set the stop and profit targets at the point at which it enters the position based on what those values were, right? And so that won't change the stop and the profit targets.
Correct. And the way we did that is by indicating that it's only set whenever we're flat. So if I took off this flat option, then every time the RSI crosses above 50, it would change those values, and it would just completely skew it all. So it has to be set up the way it is for it to work. But yeah, so if we're looking at this chart right here, well, actually, I'm just going to run this test so y'all can see it.
Okay, I get you. Yeah, I'm understanding how it works. So it enters the position at the point of the trigger, and then because it was flat at the point of the trigger, it also sets those 2 values, and then in the future, because it's not flat, because it has a position, the values stay the same, and then the stop and target gets set.
Correct.
Because the position is no longer flat. So yeah, okay, gotcha.
So on a regular chart, like here on Ninja, I can plot these values on the chart, because if you initially use this indicator, it's going to plot it on a different panel. It'll put it on like panel 4 or whatever new panel, so you have to change it to panel 1, so it'll actually be on price the way it is now. You can't do that on the analyzer, but we can go to the analyzer right quick and see what. So this is just this is the same thing I just showed you, but on the analyzer, I ran it for just 1 month here, the 7th month of, I guess that's what it is, July 2022. And you can see how it operates. If I get my cursor.
So
here,
I don't know if it's a good idea or not. But what I've been doing lately on mine, ever since reading that thing about it's the drawing applications that are causing the backlog into the memory when you're doing the optimization and backtesting, I've turned it off to not plot anything on the chart. And then when I want to see what was happening at certain trades, like how I showed you, you can go to that trade and you can click to chart and it'll pull up a whole new chart of that trade. And then I add whichever indicators I'm curious how it was reacting to, so I can see that particular thing. So just throwing it out there, that's something I've been doing that helps with keeping the memory down, is that it doesn't plot anything on the chart. And maybe later when I feel like I'm done with it, maybe I'll go back and add them, and to plot in. But it seems to be keeping it so that the optimizations and backtests run pretty fast.
So you mean you just don't check mark anything for the plot?
Yeah, so in the actual strategy where you have the indicators and you click plot on chart, I have them all undone, and then I look at the list of trades and I find something where it fucked up real bad or did really great, and I'll go to that trade. And remember how you can right click on it and hit chart, and it'll pull up a whole fresh little chart of that trade, and then I add whichever indicators that I want to see how it was to look for whatever I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely once I get to once I start running some intense optimizations or something, I'll give that a shot. I think it only does it with drawing objects, right? Like indicators are indicators, but you also have drawing objects. Like some indicators actually draw on the chart. You know how like the ATR trailing stop, it kind of puts like arrows on the chart and like paints the
And like
bars
the
and shit.
Dodgian channels and EMAs, those are all drawn on the chart. I mean,
Okay.
technically, isn't like that RSI, isn't that drawn on the chart just in a separate pane?
I think, I think those indicators are different from what's considered drawing objects. It's like, for example, if I go to like a chart here, if I have like a drawing on the chart, kind of like that, and if I want to remove the drawing objects, where is that option to move the drawing objects?
It's under drawing tools. Remove all objects. Drawing tools.
Oh, okay. Yeah, remove all drawing objects. So I don't know because I know a lot of indicators draw like all over the place. I don't know if it's just the drawing objects or just indicators, period. It might just be indicators, period.
I mean, it still uses the data of the indicator no matter what. Obviously, it just doesn't put them on the charts. So I don't know. It's made sense to me, and it's working for the time being. So
yeah, it really speeds things up.
I've been getting some pretty quick ones. The other thing is I try not to like insanely overload it. I try to keep the amount of parameters it's testing like under 300. So like I'll try to not run, if I'm trying to optimize a number between 1 and 10 on one thing and then 20 and 30 on the other, well, then you're multiplying it by 10, multiplying by 10 again, and then multiplying it by the 14 instruments. So if I can keep it under 300, I can get my tests done in like 30 seconds or less. If you start getting up to like the 1,000, 2,000, that's when I'm waiting 5 minutes for results.
Yeah, I don't ever go up that high anymore. I keep all my optimizations pretty much always under 100. At most, it might be like 50 or something if I'm doing a lot of different products.
Yeah, like most of mine are falling between like 150, 200-ish. I try to keep them under 300. And things are working out. Like I just upgraded my processor and my RAM and everything too, so everything's doing a lot better these days.
Hell yeah.
Reagan, I posted in the chat a while ago, like the live stream chat about that. I just tagged you in it again. It's exactly what you're talking about. They're talking about in the forum. You can get a lot more bang for your buck RAM-wise if you do disable the drawings. Like it was a fix that they found in the forum that
I saw your
seems
post.
to be the only legit fix so far for the memory leak thing.
Yeah, I saw your post about it, and that's why since then I've been just
turning cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Veritas just joined. Let me fill him in real quick.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? We're gonna be changing the way that we're testing and comparing patterns. You might have seen the channel I just made, Market Patterns 2. Includes the templates. Are you on the live stream right now?
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, cool. Let me show you the builder, how this looks real quick. Or actually, let me show you the chart. So these charts, you can see we have a band above and below price. These bands are created by a custom formula indicator. It's just called a formula indicator, where you put in a formula and it gives you its own data series. So this is an EMA with a period of 1, so it's just using the close price plus the ATR times 3.5, and that gives us the ATR band above, and then reverse it, just change the plus to a minus sign to get our band on the bottom. So that gives our ATR bands. And then in the builder, we set the stop and targets variables to those ATR bands at the time of entry. So here we have to make sure that we're flat so that those variables don't change. So RSI crosses above 50 when we're flat, and it sets stop price to 2 times the ATR, and then the target price to 4 times the ATR. So it's going to be, every strategy is going to have a set risk to reward, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you can much more accurately compare these patterns, and it's set to 1 to 2 because obviously we like catching fat tails, but we need to have accurate comparisons.
Yeah.
So
Understand.
we're gonna do this 1 to 2 on the patterns. Obviously here the cross above the RSI, it's just a trigger, it's not a pattern. So you would quantify what happens before the trigger and see what your results are after that. And then I'm gonna make a new worksheet. It's gonna be in Excel this time, and it's gonna be just a much better, more in-depth environment for comparing patterns. I'm also gonna do it by time frames. So if we want to compare 5 different patterns on just the 2-minute time frame, then we'll be able to do that and also get much more accurate comparisons and a lot more metrics, since they're all using the same risk to reward. Sound cool?
Yeah, I understand. Makes sense.
So yeah, because it's kind of the goal, because I was kind of seeing how the sheet was currently developing, and it's just not really just that useful of a tool to really compare things, and that's what I want it to be, And then, okay, so I ran what we just saw in the analyzer for just 1 month here. It's the July of 2022, and just to give you an idea of how this works. So this was the signal candle when the RSI crossed above 50. So what it does, it just looks at the value of that ATR. It's it was, the analyzer rounds and ticks, just so you know. So this value is it's hard to get it. It's 985, around there. So it plots a stop at this point in time. It plots a stop and a target. So the stop is around 82, and then we get stopped out there right at whatever that price was, whatever the stop price was at the time of entry. And then obviously, so here's a winner, we enter in, and then whatever this little value was, it's 13,122, around there, and you see that's where we got out at. And it's I was saying before you hopped on, obviously you can change these values 2 and 4 when you're doing other stuff. Maybe want to improve the strategy and find out 2.5 works better or something. But for the comparison sheet, the money management needs to stay the same on everything. And then since we're doing a 1 to 2, it's going to really compare the entry efficiency, because that's kind of what we want to look at the most when we're looking at triggers.
Mm-hmm.
It's right now the combined results on this is 38% win rates with just the RSI trigger. So if we quantify a pattern behind it, say, well, this has to happen before the RSI crosses over 50, and then it boosts the win rate to 45%, then all of a sudden, it might have some potential there. But yeah, Good
Okay,
stuff.
did you post the indicator somewhere?
It's inside. It's inside the Market Patterns 2 channel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's just the
I
long,
imported that already. Yeah.
and then I think
Hey, if you when you're importing it, if you click yes, it fails. But if you click no, it succeeds in importing it. Because I had an
Okay.
error twice, and then I clicked no, and then it worked.
I'm gonna put that in the channel notes. Hit no for all of them, right? There's gonna be a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
already
you
did
gotta
so.
click it. You can't hit enter, because it automatically goes to yes. You just gotta click no and ask a load of times, basically.
Yeah, I had to upload it like that because you have to, all the indicators that like a custom indicator can work with, you have to include the system indicators. It was like a big ordeal, but that's how I had to do it, unfortunately. Hit no on the pop-up. So cool. So we'll just start with this trigger today. So let me pull up a chart, and we'll just add to this template. So our trigger is just the RSI crosses above 50. Let me change these ATR bands to the right values. So the target is 4 and the stop is 2. And then let me post this link for the formula indicator Veritas in case you want to look at some documentation, because you can do quite a bit. I'm gonna post it here in the indicators. Alright, so target's 2, tails 4, doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and add the default RSI. I think it's using the average. Yeah, it's the average of the RSI. And we're only using the average, so I'm gonna make the RSI transparent. It's gonna really make this easy to see. Get rid of those lower, and actually I'll make them 50. No, let's make it transparent. There we go. Now we can see it good. Let's make this line yellow. Don't know where the force index went. I guess I need to. Let's put the force index on a new panel. Okay, finally. So we're going to mark some of these triggers. see what we can come up with. Change that default color. These colors are just not showing up well. Let's make this color yellow.
I just want to make sure I got this right and it's all working okay and it's all imported correctly. Was the combined results from the 1st of July to the 31st of July like 66,000 on the mini basket?
What time period did you
The first 5 minute.
On July 1st to the 31st, on the 3 minute, I got 64,000.
Alright, interesting.
Include commissions. Did you include commissions?
Yeah. 64,875.
You got it.
Okay, wicked. All right, it's imported. It's good. You just have to bash no a million times, and then it's sorted.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a million times.
Yeah, I mean, it is every indicator in the freaking library, basically. So let me just mark a bunch of these signals that we're getting, and then we'll analyze. So back when I was on Thinkorswim, like making an arrow indicator was the simplest thing in the world. Like I could just make an indicator really quick that plots the arrow whenever like the 50 crosses above, or whenever RSI crosses above 50. They should make that like as simple on other platforms. We're just getting loads of signals. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in here. I think it's pretty obvious where our good signal is at. So our trigger is RSI crosses above 50. So Veritas, I don't know if you watched the other session, but the way we're kind of doing this now is we're starting with a trigger, like how we are here, and then plotting a bunch of those signals, and then we look at where it worked out good. So here it worked out really well. And then we're looking to find a pattern or basically quantify what happened before the good signal. So it's pretty obvious, you know, most of these kind of suck, but this one's great. And so basically what we're trying to analyze is what is different with this price action versus the other price action. Given the indicators we already have, it looks pretty clear as day. We have the efficiency ratio crossing above 60, because that doesn't happen anywhere else. So maybe efficiency ratio crosses above 60. Then we'll look for the RSI to cross above 50. But what else do you guys see? And it doesn't have to be the indicators we already have on the chart. If you're just looking at price action, then we can, you know, quantify something different. Okay, zoom in here.
I mean, we've got a new high, like a 4 or 5 bar high right before our cycles.
A new 5-bar high. You mean this little breakup right here?
The green candle. To the right, like 4 to the right.
Yeah, it's the new higher high basically, which breaks
Yeah.
the lower low. Like it's a signal which breaks the the downtrend.
Yeah.
You mean
For
when
me
this
at least.
when
Yeah.
this candle breaks this previous little swing?
Yeah.
The first like higher high, like Veritas was saying.
It would show me that the downtrend is over and it at least goes to neutral trend.
So like all before it, we've got lower lows and lower highs, and then we've got a break of high right before the RSI crosses above 50. And the force index is above 0. And I know what you're looking at, Akotic. This seems like it's the only one that also has the RSI over 50 at the same time as the rest of the stuff, like what Veritas said as well.
Oh, I only mentioned the efficiency ratio. You see the efficiency ratio was above our 60% threshold.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very distinct difference. Whereas I see what y'all are saying, we kind of got this little ABC pattern type deal. We break down.
I mean, it's kind of like everything across the board is just saying, like, send it. Like the RSI, the efficiency ratio, the force index, like going above 0. It's just the ABC pattern. It's all at the same time, just fully sending it, like saying, go for it.
We can pull up some swings real quick. Not really sensitive enough.
What indicator did you pick for this?
It's just called the swing.
Okay.
Let's give us the swings. Let's choose 3. Get a better visual. Okay. So there's that high y'all talking about. So the only difference here, I mean, it's kind of You were saying that we made a new high before we crossed above 50.
I think it's a bit different because we're not necessarily making a new high, but we're making a new high in a downtrend, right? So
Yeah.
if you plot another line to the up, that's a nice little downtrend, and we basically break it and say, hey, this downtrend is over.
Yeah, and the way we can kind of quantify the downtrend is that the RSI got much lower over here than where we were at over here,
Mm-hmm.
and also the efficiency ratio, because the efficiency ratio isn't going to get that high unless we get a pretty significant move to the downside. The break above like a high like this is more so like a trigger. It's like, okay, we're oversold and now we buy on like a new swing high, or like we look for a break of the swing high. Does that make sense? Because you're always going to have these swing highs. So if the condition was like, okay, big boy downtrend, now enter on the break of a high. That's why it's more so like a trigger. Whereas RSI is pretty much doing the same thing here. We go really oversold on the RSI and the efficiency ratio, and then we just cross above 50. So both scenarios pretty much work.
You can almost see the little swing on the RSI as well, right before it crosses 50, like in the same location, like that little thing.
Oh yeah.
What about the
And
force index going above 0? Can you use that somewhere?
You could actually, let me show you. You could take the swing. What is that? 2? Right, you're gonna add the swings to the RSI.
That's pretty sick. Didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, it's a way of
What
spot.
indicator is it? What was the name of the indicator?
Swing.
Just called the swing. It's very no, it's been around a long time. Good old swing indicator. Just gives you the high and the lows depending on the strength. So it's the way that let me put this on. So it's important to know how it works, because it does repaint until a swing is established.
Yeah.
And that's what the strength is for. Strength indicates that 3 bars have to be before and after the swing, before to classify it as a swing. But once it's confirmed, then you don't have to worry about it. And actually, the other indicator, this price action swing, does a better job, and it also gives you the confirmations. So let me pull that on the chart for you.
Is this a custom thing though, or the price action?
Yeah, the price action swing, I posted it a while ago actually.
Oh, cool.
But let me show you price action swing.
Conceptually, I think like swings are one of my favorite things.
Oh yeah, swings are great.
Like it's fully sick.
ABC pattern, blah blah. Yeah, this indicator also gives you ABC patterns. You can see it gives you non-repainting swing patterns. Like these do not repaint. So you can actually use just a signal. The way it works is like all these things happen in real time, so you don't have to worry about repainting. But so once it gets to C, it's gonna pop up this ABC, and then it's gonna give you this entry line, which is this little orange line here it gave us. And then when that line is closed beyond, it gives us the short signal. So this signal does not repaint. This happened in real time.
How did it do that? Is it only measuring 3 bars from the high?
How it creates these ABC patterns?
How does it measure C and no C's like D? I see.
It's just part of the formula. I mean,
It's secret sauce.
yeah. I mean, it's just a good ass indicator. But yeah, it gives you non-repainting ABC signals with the entry line. The actual arrow here is the signal.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool shit. But so back to the swings. Another cool thing this indicator does is it lets you see confirmed swings. So let's go back to the settings. Let's make it a little more sensitive. Let's make it like 3. Yeah, so now we can see a lot more swings. And now, lo and behold, there's the swing y'all were talking about, and it gave us a non-repainting ABC pattern.
So that would have gotten in lower as well. Where the little green bit is just above C, or
For some reason, it didn't give us the arrow.
yeah, but that is the point. Like that's where it's saying to.
Yeah,
Send
this
it
is like,
there.
so after this bar closed, it would have gave us a signal. So we would entered at that level, like right here.
Dude, this thing's sick.
Yeah, it's a cool ass indicator. But back to what I was saying, the confirmed swings. Where is this at? This thing gives you a lot more metrics too. You see there's a lot of options here. It gives you divergent signals too. You can actually get divergent signals. Let's check that out for a second. Just wanted to use MACD divergence. I don't think it actually plots arrows for the divergence indicator. Starts getting confusing after a minute. I forgot how it does it. I think it's, so the upper line, HDiv. I would have to look back at the documentation on it. Let's turn that off. And where is the confirmed swings? There it is. Right here on the show swing switch. That lets us know when it was confirmed. So if you're like back testing or something, it lets us know when that swing was actually confirmed. So let me turn off the ABC signals.
Oh, there's an arrow now on the C of the one we were looking at.
Yeah, that would have just been whenever the swing was confirmed. Let me turn off the ABC patterns. Okay, so now you can see the lag. Okay, because this low point didn't get confirmed until right here. So that's what that arrow indicates. So once this arrow indicates, now it confirms this low. Once this, and you can see this arrow got confirmed. This low got confirmed as soon as this candle formed. So a cool thing you can do with this, it's a non-repainting way to identify higher lows without using the lag of the swing indicator. You can say, okay, if this arrow is higher than this arrow, simple as that. So you would say, you look at this arrow, you would take this arrow because it's higher, take this arrow because it was higher, and you wouldn't take this one, 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 then you would take this one because the arrow is higher, so on and so forth. Same way with the shorts. So I mean, there's just so many ways to look at things, but we're really getting off track here.
Yeah, sorry. it's just super cool.
Yeah, there is a lot of different ways to quantify certain things. And that's what these newer sessions are going to be all about. But let me take off these swing indicators. Because like I was saying, the higher high is pretty much a trigger. So I don't really want to use this a higher high or like a break above the previous high. But one thing that we definitely can quantify here is just the simple fact that price was in a big ass downtrend, and then we got a reversal. So we could just go ahead and add, I think this RSI crossed below 30 as well. So yeah, I mean, there's really two things we could add here, like basically one or the other. Because if I plot a horizontal line, that's pretty much at 30. You can see we don't go below 30 ever, besides the one time here, and then we got this buy signal. So cool, we'll do that. Does that sound good?
Oh, that's cool. Would you say something like if it closes below 30 on the RSI, then that sets something to true, and then look for a cross above 50, or
Shit,
slightly different?
you about to find out.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let's see. So we can't just say cross above 50, because it has to have been below 30. So I think the easiest way to do this, so this is the template, obviously, that we're starting off with. So we're going to go to variables. This is pretty much going to be the process you normally take. You're going to add a variable for the pre-long, because we're adding something that occurs before the trigger. So pre-long, let's set it to false. And let's add a set, and let us say that the RSI, remember we're using the average. So RSI average crosses below 30. It's going to set our pre-long to true. Go back to our original trigger, and now we just say that our pre-long has to be true. And so there isn't really anything to invalidate. Like normally we set something to true, and then if something else occurs, we like set it back to false. But this just isn't the case with this pattern. We're just waiting for it to go oversold, and then buying across above 50 just whenever it happens. Doesn't matter when it happens. It's going to happen at some point. And whenever it does, that's when we're going to go long. But that means we do need to set our variable back to false whenever we are long. So let's set our pre-long back to false. And there we go. We just successfully added this in, quantify something that happened before our trigger occurs. Made a new set, cross below 30. That's what we want to see happen before the trigger. Set a variable to true, add that variable to our original set, and then on our set 2, where we're long, we set it back to false.
So you create it false as standard, and then you create a scenario that makes it true.
Yes.
And then that's the thing that is dynamic, that changes based on whether it's true or false. at a certain time, but the condition for entry is it has if all, and one of the things is it has to be true, otherwise it won't trigger. So it's like is that correct?
Yeah, it has to be true for our trigger to occur.
Yeah, and that doesn't change. That's just a thing that has to happen in order for it to take the trigger.
Yeah, you see
And then
that pre-long has to be true for us to take
okay,
that cross. And what
but then
makes the pre-long true is the RSI crossing below 30. And then once we're long,
that's not on this page. That's on set 2 or
set 3 is the RSI crosses below 30, sets our pre-long to true.
okay.
Then we go back to our other set and we set pre-long to true. Or we say that pre-long has to be true. In the conditions, you choose user variables, choose our variable and say that it has to equal true.
Yeah, okay. User variable.
And then whenever we're long, sets it back to false. So let's see how this shit does. And it's going to be the first one that we add to the new super advanced Excel worksheet that I haven't made yet. But I will be making. It's going to take a lot of work. But it's going to be the sauce. So let's run it for 22 or 21. There's really nothing to optimize here, and I think I don't know yet. I might include like the option to optimize something, but more than likely won't. It just really depends. So include commission. Everything looks right. Got our index basket. Let's start on the 4 hour. And let's see what's going on. There's only so many bars on a 4 hour, so wouldn't expect a whole lot to happen. But we did pretty good. Let's check out some trades. Huh, that happened right on session close. Buy, hit the stop loss right there. Okay. But it made 19,000 on the 4 hour. Good shit. The overall P&Ls are expected to be a little bit lower since we're not catching those as massive fat tails. That really offsets things. But here's a trade, so we can see the RSI went below 30 right here. And then eventually we came back up and crossed above 50. Say it's the average, sorry. We're looking at the orange line, not the blue line. So the orange line crosses above 50, it's like right here. We enter in long. But not profitable on the 2 hour. Let's go down to the 60 minute. No good on the 60. Gonna have to probably create some rule to merit being on the sheet. Like it has to at least be profitable on this or that, whether it's like a number of time frames or assets or something. Because we can't just be submitting trash all day. So it looks like this pattern might not make the cut on the indexes. So it's just getting worse and worse as we go lower in the time frames.
What was the thing that we did again? Sorry, I'm properly fried. It was we did the RSI being below 30. Sets it to true.
Correct.
And then the trigger's still cross above 50, or did we change the trigger? It's still the same?
Still the same.
Okay. So it doesn't go back to false until it takes a position, like a long position, right?
Correct.
Or okay.
So I'm thinking, so the money management isn't going to change on any strategy, but we will have so I'm thinking probably whatever indicator you use to quantify what happens before, you can do a slight optimization on. But the trigger, there's no point optimizing a trigger. It's just overfitting. Because trigger is going to pretty much be the same no matter what. But in this case, we used the same indicator as our trigger. So instead, I'm going to change it to using the efficiency ratio. So our pattern before is going to be if the efficiency ratio is greater than 60%, efficiency ratio is greater than 60, sets us to true, blah, blah, cool. So then we set a variable, what is the ER1? Default's 10. Set the input to 10. And let's go back to the analyzer. Let's see if maybe we can make some money somewhere. I'm going to go back to let's go to optimize. I'm just going to do 10 iterations, same as the last time, no more than 10. Aggregate max net profit. Okay, should be good. I think the efficiency ratio will probably do a little better than RSI anyways. And here we definitely did. So that it chose the default parameter for the efficiency ratio. And the results are much better compared to our last 4-hour test. Last time it was like 19,000.
Yeah, profitability went up like 20%.
Definitely. Let's see if that's gonna correlate down to some of the lower time frames. Hopefully. Shows 90 now. And give us like no trades. Got some profitability on the 60, but it also being at 90, it's kind of awkward. be honest. But it does create very dramatic scenarios for it to go over 60%. I don't think it's going to do it for us, though. I don't think this is going to take the RSI cross over 50 to the next level.
So at this point, you're keeping the RSI crossing 50 as the trigger, and you're looking for things that happen before the RSI crosses 50 that will improve this pattern or change the pattern so it improves the results.
Correct.
And you're not interested in changing the RSI crossing 50 at all.
In this case, no. It's just our trigger.
Because you want to try and find like the best thing first.
Yeah, we're just trying to quantify what happens before it. What can happen before the cross that all of a sudden makes it a lot better.
So if you find,
go ahead.
sorry, no, if you find like a really good setup and then you've kind of like rinsed out everything that you can possibly do, would you then change the trigger? Or I mean, it seems like it's just starting again but because it's like you don't know what.
Patterns
I
are
know
all about predicting patterns are all about predicting what's going to occur. It's just a probabilities game. That's why I say a lot as an example. If I told you ES was going to uptrend tomorrow, it doesn't matter where you enter at. You're just going to hop the fuck in.
Yeah.
So it's the same premise with our trigger. We're seeing what can happen before the trigger that says, okay, now we're going to hop in. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's RSI crosses above 50, 60, 70, 80. It doesn't matter. If whatever happened before means we're going to have a big move up, it doesn't matter when.
Yeah.
Especially...
So you don't spend any energy at all on the trigger. Like, you're not even interested. You're like, 50 is as good as 60 and 60 is as good as like whatever. It doesn't matter.
I think there is some notable differences on the extreme side. Like RSI crosses above 90 or some shit. But for the most part, generally no. Because like I said, if whatever we quantified before means we're going to get a good move up, it doesn't matter what our trigger is.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the key takeaway. And so all your efforts should be mostly focused on trying to quantify events that happened before. Like I said, they're leading indicators. It's all a pattern is made to do. It's like I was telling you an example about like the freaking Head and Shoulders.
Yeah.
Pattern. It's like, oh well, since we got the Head and Shoulders, now we're gonna take this short. And then the short trigger is usually something very simple, right? It's always something simple. It's just like, well, break the previous low. That's our trigger because the Head and Shoulders occurred.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know in this case with RSI like whether it matters or because but I guess it doesn't really matter.
Now results will differ if you're using like a different oscillator. For example, there's a lot of different oscillators. This is a 0 to 100 oscillator, blah, blah, blah. But like I was saying in the past as well, there's always going to be a best oscillator. Like if I do this test on 21 to 22 and it turns out the DSS does better than the RSI, or the stochastic RSI does better than DSS, or the MESA does better than the stock, there's always going to be like a better, but it doesn't mean anything because we don't know what's going to be better moving forward. There's always going to be a best, so that's why we don't care, because we're never going to know what the actual best is moving forward. If there was a way to actually find that out, then that'd be great, but unfortunately it's just impossible.
Yeah.
If you got 10 different oscillators that all cross above 50 at slightly different times, There's always going to be a better one.
And then you're just asking for overfitting if you're trying to find the best like entry trigger.
Exactly. Seeing how, let's say I did test out 10 different oscillators, it's only the best oscillator over that data, over 21 to 22.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, yeah.
That's all we successfully found out. You didn't find out, like, holy shit, the stochastic RSI is the ultimate sauce. No, it's just the stochastic RSI did good on these 2 years. That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's going to do good next year or next month.
So yeah, so ideally you want to pick like the most generic entry trigger because it takes away a lot of the possibilities of like overfitting. If you're trying to pick the best result starting with a trigger, you might just be leading yourself down a path that just happened to be something that worked good in the last 2 years, and it's got nothing to do with the pattern that you end up making.
Well, I mean, it's not like it'll make you lose money because the point is it's just going to be a fucking waste of time.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like I said, the pattern is what matters. It's like what happens before the trigger is what matters. So like it doesn't matter what your trigger is, but now if you spend 200 hours of screen time figuring out what trigger works out best,
it's a waste of time.
It's an absolute waste of time.
Yeah.
So let's
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Looks like we got some profitability here. Why is this popping up? What even is this? DSS pullback. Okay. 12K on 2K on the 5 minutes. Pretty damn good results, actually. Oh, Veritas, I'll send this screenshot to you as well. Let me show you.
Which screenshot?
I might send you. I was showing gold. This is some of the stuff. This is one of the dashboards that I use in Excel. I sent you.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do a lot more. Or basically, I'm gonna make an even better one for the patterns worksheet. So we can have like full in-depth analysis of these individual patterns, and it's just gonna be a great resource. I feel like I'm excited for it.
Dude, it's sick. Like I can't emphasize how sick it is.
I'm excited too. Especially if you got like a good little batch of people that, are adding patterns. And like I was telling Gold, Veritas, I'm gonna have a correlation matrix on there as well to actually look at the correlation of patterns and like combine different patterns initially to see what the correlations are. It's just gonna be the sauce, dude. What can I say? Go to the 3 minute. So it shows the 40 on the 5 minute, and it shows the 50 on the 4 minute. I wonder what's going to choose on the 3 minute. But at the end of the day, these are much different numbers than what we were getting, from the other patterns. Whereas like the indexes were like 150, 200,000 plus. Because this is really just looking at the entry efficiency of the pattern and taking away those giant fat tails that are just by random chance. Even though we know it's going to improve like every strategy.
the idea is to get like as many, like you said, you wanted like 100 in the sheet, and then after that you can start looking at once you have like a direct comparison of patterns, then you can start looking at like exits and different exits, and because you're in good and you've got a good foundation. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a resource, right? So you take a pattern, off the sheet with the idea of what you want to do with it or what you want to see what it's capable of or whatever, and then build off of that, because now you have a pattern that has a good entry efficiency that has a good chance of providing some diversification.
Yeah. Cool. Do you think there's a risk the top 10 patterns are going to get used and everything that's like 9A and above is just going to get like ignored?
I mean, I don't really think it's going to be like that.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a good mix match between which patterns do good on which time frames and which asset classes.
Yeah, cool.
Since
That's the thing.
Yeah, since we're going to have like a combination, since we're going to have the results of like all the asset classes for each time frame, then it's really just going to be specific to what you want to add. Like maybe you already have like a 5-minute strategy that does good on the long side, is trend following, and then you want something that does good on metals, that's like, to the short side, but you want it on like the 10-minute chart and like shit like that.
Yeah, it's for finding what you need. It's not an MLG leaderboard.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just like, which one's doing best.
Yeah. Sort by trash to legendary.
So it turns out this pattern isn't doing so well. But that opens up the doors for a different pattern. Because honestly, what we're trying to do here is textbook reversal setup. Right? We're in a big fat downtrend. And now we're looking for a buy signal. And so I don't think this pattern is doing very well, because more often than not, once we go oversold, we end up getting continuation to the downside. So that opens up an easy alternative to say, okay, what if we cross above 80 and then look for a cross above 50? Basically trend continuation instead of reversal. Oh shit, I forgot about the efficiency ratio and how it works. Gotta give it direction. So you can't just say cross above 60. You gotta give it the direction as well, because it's either gonna be green or red. So let's go to the trend and say equals -1. me 1 second. Alright, I'm going to finish running these couple more time frames. I'm going to have to call it, unfortunately. Yeah, it's choosing 90 because any of these lower periods on the efficiency ratio just gives us a lot of trades and just makes it lose because the setup is trash.
Did you say it's okay to run optimization on the conditions that make something true? Just because it's not really like curve fitting. It's just if you didn't do it, you're basically stabbing in the dark, hoping something sticks forever, and you might never find something. Is that the purpose of it?
Yeah, it's just whatever you're using. I mean, because it's kind of a different scenario with every strategy, so it's kind of hard to put like a a general rule on it. But I'm thinking like probably in most cases, whatever you're using to quantify the pattern, you could try to optimize slightly.
Okay.
Let's do 5 minutes.
Oh, hey, with project 3, do you want us to now use the template, or do you want us to just keep doing what we were doing?
Yeah, everything's
Like-
now going to be, everything now is
Okay.
going to be different to what I showed you in this video. So it's going to be using the template. Obviously, if you've already, people have already done it, like you don't have to worry about the deadline or anything. Not saying like you have to redo it, but moving forward, yeah, this is how we're going to be looking at patterns and comparing them.
So if I haven't done anything, I should just try it with the template.
Yeah, do it as a template, and then I'm going to start working on the new Excel file tomorrow, probably. So cool, I'm going to call it here. Obviously this pattern isn't good enough yet to add it to the sheet, but might work on this pattern or look to quantify a different pattern before the trigger later on today. And so cool. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Saturday.
Yeah, thank you too.